Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like the weight of the world is pressing down on you? Like you're trapped in a cycle of trying to prove your worth, chasing after love, approval, or success, only to feel emptier than before? Maybe it's a mistake you made that you can't seem to escape. Or maybe it's a voice in your head that whispers, you'll never be good enough. I've been there. I've heard that voice. And for years I believed it. But today I want to tell you something that could change the way you see yourself, your life, and your future. Because here's the truth. What if I told you that you don't have to earn your worth? That you don't have to fight for love? That there's a power greater than your fears, a love stronger than your doubts, and a grace that is bigger than your failures? What if I told you that nothing, absolutely nothing, can change the way God loves you? That might sound impossible. Maybe you've been hurt by people who claim to love you. Maybe you've been told that you're too far gone, too broken, or too flawed to ever be truly loved. But I'm here to tell you that those words, those lies, they don't define you. They never did. You are more than your scars. You are more than your struggles. You are more than enough because God's love for you is infinite, unchanging, and unconditional. And if you're willing to listen, I want to take you on a journey. A journey to discover what it really means to live loved. A journey to end up. You see, I know what it feels like to wrestle with those doubts. Born without arms and legs, I grew up believing I was incomplete, broken, and unworthy. Kids would stare at me, whisper behind my back, and ask questions that cut deeper than they realized. I felt like my life was a mistake, like I was destined to be invisible, forgotten, or left behind. I remember nights when I'd cry myself to sleep, begging God to change me, to fix me, to make me like everyone else. I thought if only I were normal, then I'd be loved, then I'd be accepted, then I'd be happy. But let me tell you something. The darkest moments of your life can become the foundation for the brightest breakthroughs. I didn't know it back then, but those tears, those prayers, they weren't wasted. Because even in my pain, even in my doubts, God's love was there, steady and unchanging. And the same is true for you. Whatever you're carrying right now, whether it's the weight of guilt, shame, rejection, or fear, I want you to know that you're not alone. God sees you. He knows your heart, and He loves you, not in spite of your flaws, but through them. You might be thinking, Nick, that sounds nice, but you don't know my story. You don't know what I've done. You don't know how many times I've failed. And you're right. I don't know every detail of your journey, but here's what I do know. Your story isn't over. Every scar you carry, every tear you've cried, every battle you've faced, it all has a purpose. You may not see it yet, but God is writing a masterpiece with your life. And the most beautiful part, He doesn't need you to be perfect. He doesn't need you to have all the answers or to have it all together. All He asks is that you come to Him as you are, with open hands and a willing heart. Because here's the truth. God's love for you isn't based on your performance. It's not about how many good deeds you've done or how many mistakes you've avoided. His love is a gift that you can't earn, but one that He freely gives. And the moment you realize that, the moment you let that truth sink in, everything changes. everything changes. Let me share something personal with you. There was a time in my life when I was ready to give up. I thought, what's the point? If I'm always going to be like this, if I'm always going to feel like I'm not enough, why even bother? But in that moment of despair, I heard a whisper in my heart. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, but it was powerful. It said, "You are mine." 3 simple words that changed everything. Those words reminded me that my life wasn't an accident, that I wasn't defined by my circumstances or my limitations, that no matter how many times I fell, God's love would always be there to pick me up. And the same is true for you. You are not defined by your past. You are not defined by your failures. You are defined by the one who created you, who called you by name, and who loves you with a love that will never let you go. So, what does it mean to live in that love? It means letting go of the lies that have held you captive for too long. Lies that say you're not enough. Lies that say you're unworthy. Lies that say you have to earn love or prove your worth. Living in God's love means stepping into freedom. The freedom to be who you were created to be. The freedom to pursue your dreams without fear of failure. The freedom to love others without holding back. The freedom to walk boldly, knowing that you are deeply loved, fully accepted, and perfectly valued. And here's the best part, that freedom isn't something you have to earn. It's already yours. All you have to do is receive it. My friend, if you take one thing away from this message, let it be this: nothing, absolutely nothing can separate you from God's love. Not your past, not your mistakes, not your doubts. His love for you is unchanging, unwavering, and unstoppable. So today I challenge you to take the first step toward living in that truth. Let go of the lies that have been holding you back. Embrace the love that has been waiting for you all along. And remember, no matter where you are, no matter what you're facing, you are not alone. You are loved. You are enough. And your best days are still ahead. Do you ever stop and think about the lies we tell ourselves every day? The lies that whisper, you're not smart enough, you're not talented enough, or you'll never make it. Sometimes those lies come from our past. Words spoken to us in anger, experiences that left us feeling small, or moments when we felt invisible. And over time, those lies start to feel like truth. But here's the thing, those lies only have power if you let them. They don't define you. They never did. You see, your true identity isn't found in what the world says about you. It's not found in the approval of others, the size of your paycheck, or the number of followers you have. Your true identity is found in one simple yet profound truth. You are a child of God. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, with a purpose that no one else can fulfill. Think about that for a moment. Let it sink in. The creator of the universe, the one who spoke the stars into existence, looked at you and said, "This one is mine." He didn't wait for you to have it all together. He didn't wait for you to check off a list of accomplishments. He chose you exactly as you are. When you start to see yourself through God's eyes, everything changes. You stop striving for perfection and start living in grace. You stop chasing after love and start resting in it. You stop hiding your flaws and start embracing the beautiful, messy, perfectly imperfect person God created you to be. I want to talk about failure for a moment, because it's something we all experience. Maybe you've failed in a relationship. Maybe you've failed at a job. Maybe you failed yourself. And the shame feels like a weight you can't shake off. But here's what I want you to understand. Failure isn't the end of your story. In fact, it can be the beginning of something beautiful. When I was younger, I used to believe that my failures disqualified me from God's love. I thought, how could God love someone who keeps messing up? How could He use someone like me with all my flaws and shortcomings? But then I realized something life-changing. God's love isn't based on my performance. It's based on His grace. Grace means that you don't have to be perfect to be loved. Grace means that even when you fall, God is there to catch you. Grace means that your failures don't define you. His love does. And here's the most amazing part. God can take your biggest failures and turn them into your greatest victories. He can take the broken pieces of your life and create something more beautiful than you could ever imagine. So don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to take risks, to step out in faith, and to trust that God's grace is enough to carry you through. Now let's talk about purpose, because I believe that every single one of us was created with a unique purpose, a calling that only we can fulfill. But so often we get stuck in the comparison trap. We look at what others are doing, what they have, and we start to doubt our own worth. Let me tell you something. Your purpose isn't found in comparison. It's found in connection. Connection with the one who created you, and connection with the people He's placed in your life. For years, I struggled to find my purpose. I thought, how can someone like me make a difference? How can I inspire others when I feel so limited? But the more I leaned into God's love, the more I realized that my limitations weren't a barrier, they were an opportunity. An opportunity to show others that no matter what challenges they face, they are capable of living a life filled with meaning and joy. And the same is true for you. You don't have to have it all figured out to make a difference. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment or the perfect circumstances. Start where you are. Use what you have. Trust that God will guide you every step of the way. Because when you live with purpose, when you stop focusing on what you lack and start embracing what you've been given, you'll discover a joy and fulfillment that nothing in this world can take away. Picture this, a seed buried deep in the soil, in complete darkness, no sunlight, no warmth, just the crushing weight of the earth above it. That seed could sit there, trapped, thinking, this is it. This is my end. But something amazing happens in that darkness. A miracle. That seed starts to push upward. It doesn't see the sun yet, doesn't feel the breeze or hear the songs of birds, but it grows anyway. You may feel buried right now, buried under the weight of failures, fear, or shame. Maybe it's a relationship that's falling apart, or a dream that feels like it's slipping further out of reach. You might be thinking, how can anything good come out of this, out of me? My friend, let me tell you, that's the exact place where growth begins. When I was born, the doctors didn't have words of hope for my parents. No arms, no legs, a life that they said would be full of limitations. And for so many years, I believed it. I believed that my life would always be small, that I'd never amount to anything, and that God must have made a mistake with me. But something happened that changed everything. I stopped looking at what I didn't have and started looking at what was given to me. And the greatest gift, the one that anchors me every single day, is this: the unchanging, unshakable love of God. I beseech you, men, just as Christ, I pray that every one of you, you take this, the one that anchors you every single day. Now, let me be real with you. It wasn't an instant transformation. It wasn't like I woke up one morning and all my struggles disappeared. I still face challenges. But I've learned that my worth doesn't come from what I can or can't do. It doesn't come from how I look or what others say about me. My worth comes from knowing who I belong to. You might be hearing this and thinking, that's fine for you, Nick. You've got it all figured out. But you don't know my pain, my past, my regrets. And you're right. I don't know every detail of your story. But I do know this: God's love doesn't depend on your story being perfect. In fact, it's in the messiest parts of our lives that His love shines the brightest. When you feel like giving up, when you feel like you've hit rock bottom, remember this: the same God who created the stars and named them one by one knows your name. He knows your struggles, your fears, your doubts, and He loves you not because of what you've done, but because of who He is. That's the kind of love that doesn't run out. It doesn't waver, and it never changes. I know this because I've lived it. I've faced days when I wanted to give up. Days when I thought the pain was too much to bear. But those were the days when God's love became the most real to me. Those were the days when I learned to rely on Him, not on my own strength, not on what I could achieve or prove, but on His grace that carries me through.